took a bit of time because of our network. It's good having you here. Welcome. We are starting right away. So we're continuing with the series we started last week, which was titled "Lessons I Learned from a Failure." And one of the things I mentioned was that a wise person learns from everyone. A wise person learns from everyone. You learn from successful people. You learn from failures. All right. You learn from a failure how not to be a failure. All right. And it's important that you identify patterns. That is one of the key things. It's a cheat code. You have to learn how to identify patterns. All right. So successful people have certain things they do, which are their patterns, and failures have certain things that they do, which guarantees failure. All right. So success can be guaranteed. Failure can also be guaranteed if you would follow the right patterns. All right. So today we're going to continue. Last time we didn't want to trade. Today I'm going to pick up from that, and I will start off with what would be number four. All right. And the number four lesson you can learn from a failure is this: failures have no appetite for taking risk. I'll say that to you again. Failures have no appetite for taking risk. The Bible says in the book of Proverbs 26:13, it says that there is a lion in the streets. There is a lion in the street, so says a slothful man. A slothful man will sit at home and say, "It's too risky outside. There are lions out there. There is a lion on the street. If I should try this thing, I'll be destroyed. If I should try this thing, I'll be eaten up." All right. So he would rather stay in the house, not just even in the house. The Bible says that as the door, moves upon the hinges, so does a slothful man move upon his bed. All right. So does he turn on his bed. So a slothful man would say, the risk is too much. There is a lion there, an imaginary lion. I've not seen the lion, but I know it's there, right? I've not experienced the failure, but I know it's there. So let me go and just be safe. But one of the things you would realize is that in this life, there is no such thing as safety. All right, there's no such thing as safety. Every time you decide not to take action, you are also risking having failure. Okay, so every time you take action, you are risking having success and you are risking having failure. But every time you decide not to take action, look, failure is what comes out of it. All right, so there is no time in this life when we do not face one risk or another. The difference between the failure and the successful man is that the successful person faces the risk head on, right? So that he can influence or he can decide the outcome. But a failure, right, depends on whatever outcome life throws at him. All right, so life is full of risk. There is no safety anywhere. Your security, the security of your future, is in your ability to adapt rather, and it's in your ability to adapt to things. All right. So your security is in those two things: your ability to adapt to situations, your ability to adopt new things, right? Incorporate new things into your life, into your system, into the way you operate. All right. Apart from these, there is no other guarantee of success. Okay, because life comes with different things, life comes with new things. You must be willing to risk to take the risk rather that opportunity presents. Let me say that to you again. You must be willing to take the risk that opportunity presents. Sometimes that risk is very simple. It's as simple as the risk of looking ignorant or looking foolish because you have a question you want to ask and you're not sure how it will be received. But you would find out in life that the answers you receive depends on the questions that you ask. If you are afraid to ask questions, then you disqualify yourself from receiving answers. If you do not receive answers, you cannot make progress. Sometimes that risk can be in terms of business. I want to start this business. I don't know whether it would fail or whether it would succeed. I want to go into this career. I don't know whether it would fail or whether it would succeed. Look, let me tell you this. The only guarantee you have of making it in this life lies in your willingness to take risk. You say to me, so what if what I want to do is something that I really don't know much about? My failure is guaranteed because I don't know anything about it. Well, you learn. You learn. You're smart. You can learn. All right. You can learn anything you choose to learn. Okay. Now, when we talk about taking risk, we're not talking about running blindly into things. We're talking about determining what you want and then stepping out towards it in spite of the obstacles, in spite of the situations around you. Okay, you must bank on your ability to learn. You can learn anything. You can learn how to grow the business. You can learn how to do the job. All right, you can learn how to excel in a certain field or in a certain industry. What you should not do is fold your hands and say, well, I can't do anything about this. I don't know anything about this, so I'm just going to sit down here and do nothing. No, that is the part of failure. You must learn, if you're going to be a successful person, to take risks. And let me tell you this, the best time to take risks is when you're young, when you don't have anyone depending on you, you don't have a husband, you don't have a wife, you don't have children, right, depending on you. That's the best time to take massive risk. All right, you must take those kind of risk early in your life. Okay, because the older you get, the more difficult it becomes to take certain kind of risk. Okay, and your reward is always tied to the risk that you take. So, as a young person, make it part of your thinking, all right, to take risk, massive risk, big risk. Decide where you want to go, decide what you want to do, all right, and move towards it. All right. I was listening to this guy, Elon Musk, a few days ago. Someone was interviewing him, and the person asked him and said, you have such a large appetite for risk. Why are you so different from other people? Elon Musk said that, look, for him, it's more or less a scientific thing. The question he asked himself is, how important is the result that I want to get? That if the result is very important, he would take the risk even if there is a low possibility of failure. And that's different from the way we think. We will analyze the situation based on whether there is a high possibility of failure or whether or not there is a low possibility of failure. We will decide whether we should take on something, take on a challenge, on whether or not we believe that we will succeed in it or whether or not we believe we would fail. Elion believes different. He said that what determines the risk he takes is how important the result would be to him. All right. Now, even if the possibility of failure is low, he would still go at it. Why? Because if you fail, you can pick yourself up, learn from how you failed, and try it again. And if you fail again, you can pick yourself up, learn from it, and try again until you succeed. So the question you have to ask yourself is, how important are those things that I'm holding there? How important are the goals I'm holding there? How important, are those aspirations that I have? Because they will come with risk, right? They'll come with different kind of risk. How important are they? If they are important enough, then you must also bank on your ability to learn, your ability to adopt, your ability to adapt as you make progress towards these things. All right. So does this make sense to you? One of the key differences between a failure and a successful person is that a failure has no appetite, has no interest in risk. So let me ask you this. What was the major risk what has been rather the major risk you've taken in the past 1 year? What has been the major risk you've taken in the past 6 months? What has been the major risk you've taken in the past 3 months? Sometimes the risk could simply be volunteering for a project, right? The possibility of failing is there, but you take the risk to volunteer for that project because every time you engage yourself in something, you become better. You become a better person. If you are not engaging yourself, if you are not confronting risk, you are not growing. So that is a way you are able to measure if your life is actually moving forward or not. Are you facing any risk? Are you confronting anything? Is there anything that you're facing and you're saying to yourself, this there's a possibility that I may fail in this thing, but I'm gonna go at it anyways. All right. That's how you know if you are growing or not. You do not grow. Look, there is no growth in comfort, right? If you look at your life and you become comfortable in terms of your job, you have a handle of it, you know what to do and all that stuff. There's no challenge there. There's no challenge in the things they are doing. Then you are not growing. The part of growth is the part of risk taking. All right, does this make sense to you? So, a failure has no appetite for risk. If you do not want to fail with your life, then you must be a risk taker. What risk are you currently taking? The second thing I want to say when it comes to lessons I learned from a failure, which will be the fifth lesson, second for today, but the fifth in the series, is this: failures ignore little disciplines. Failures ignore little disciplines. A failure believes that a successful person finds it easier to be disciplined. A failure believes that successful people are wired different. And so, because they are different, they are able to be disciplined. A failure will tell you that, I don't like waking up in the morning to start my day early. But some people do because they are morning people. I am not wired that way. I'm not a morning person. All right. A failure will tell you that, well, some people enjoy exercising, they enjoy going to the gym. They are wired that way. I am not wired that way. I don't enjoy it. All right. Look, failures think that people who are successful, who are disciplined, find it easy. They don't realize that disciplined people force themselves to do the things that they have to do, right? They have the same feelings that failures have, right? But they refuse to listen and refuse to succumb to those feelings. Feelings are the language, or rather, feelings is the language of failures. Action is the language of successful people. Let me say that to you again. Feelings is the language. I will do it when I feel like doing it. I don't feel like doing it, so I won't do it. I don't feel like reading today, so I won't read. I don't feel like going out today, so I won't go out. I don't feel like exercising today, so I will not do it. Feelings is the language of failures. Action is the language of successful people. Successful people do what they have to do in spite of how they feel. All right. They have learned how to discipline themselves. Failures do not know how to discipline themselves. So, if you're going to be successful, you must learn to follow those little disciplines. I say little because you don't need right now the discipline that it would take to, build a rocket, all right? Or you don't need the discipline that it would take, all right, to do one world changing or to accomplish one world changing task, right? But what you need to do and make sure that you have a hold on those little disciplines: waking up early, all right, praying, all right, reading your Bible, studying, okay, learning, okay, paying attention, those little disciplines that you can begin to put in your life, watching out for your health, eating the apple a day, if I can put it that way. All right, whatever it is that you need to do, those exercises that you need to take, whatever it is that you need to do, right, to be able to live a successful life. You cannot depend on your feelings. I'll say this to you again. You cannot depend on your feelings. Failures believe, right, that it is okay to ignore little disciplines. It's okay to follow their feelings. Successful people know that it is the little discipline that I imbibe today, added to the one I imbibe tomorrow, added to the one I imbibe next tomorrow, that will build me a great future. Will Smith was said something which I think is very profound. He said that if you ask him to build a wall, he is not going to aim to build the biggest, baddest, finest wall in the world. That won't be his aim. That won't be his goal. What he would aim to do would be to lay a brick and lay that brick so well it would be the best laid brick in the whole world. You will not be able to find any brick anywhere that is as well laid as his brick. And once he has laid that brick in that 10 minutes, he would lay another one equally well and lay another one equally well. By the time you come back, you would realize that what you will be seeing would be the best wall in the world. How do you build a wall? A brick at a time. How do you build success? One little discipline at a time. One little discipline at a time. Every time you exercise discipline, you make it easier to repeat that task. Every time you fail to exercise discipline, you make it easy to fail in repeating that task. Okay, every time you are literally teaching and training yourself on how to behave by the choices that you are making daily. Okay, why do some people find certain things a bit easier, a bit more natural? Because they have laid the brick. All right, they took out the time. When they didn't feel like doing it, they did it. When they didn't want to do it, they did it. When it wasn't convenient for them to do it, they did it. When it wasn't convenient for them to learn, they learned. When it wasn't convenient for them to read, they read. When it wasn't convenient for them to study, they studied. When it wasn't convenient for them to strive, they strove. When it wasn't convenient for them to do certain things, they did it in spite of how they were feeling. And because of that, they were able to build momentum. I've said this before, momentum is your best friend. Momentum is your best friend. You've got to be able to build momentum. Okay, you have to be able to push yourself. It's like a car that you want to push over a hill. All right, you start pushing it. First of all, it goes up, and that is stressful. It's difficult. It takes a lot of energy. But once you have pushed it up to the top of the hill, to push it down is very easy. It just begins to take on a life of its own. It begins to take on speed by itself. That's the way it is. Those little disciplines, right, are like pushing a car up. But if you want to cruise on the highway of success, you've got to be able to push your car through those little disciplines. And when you've reached a certain period, it becomes a bit easier. Does this make sense to you? Does this make sense to you? All right. So failures ignore little disciplines. Look, your success is not based on your talent. Success is not based on your personality. It's not whether you're a nice person or you're not a nice person. Success is not based on your capacity. It's not based on your fineness. All right. Success is not based on who you are. Success is built by little disciplines done every day, every single day. So, what you need to do is write out a list of those little disciplines you want to put into your life. All right. And say to yourself, every day I will do this. You may not be able to go to the gym every day, but at least say to yourself, every day I will do some push ups. Every day I will do some little exercises. All right. You may not be able to do some mighty things, but say to yourself every day, I will do this little one that I do. Do the little that you can and do it to the best of your ability. Let me say that to you again. Learn to do the little that you can, do it consistently, and do it to the best of your ability. It's not about how talented you are. It's not about how nice you are. It's not about how good you are. It's not even about how much of a Christian you are. It is found in the little disciplines. So if you don't have those little disciplines, then you know that you're not going anywhere. All right. That's why they say that success is predictable. You can look at your life and know from the way you are living your life where you're going to end up. All right. You can know from the way you're living your life, from the disciplines that you have in your life presently, you can tell where it will take you to. There is nobody that can tell that. Even a failure knows in his heart that this habit of sleeping till 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 p.m. every day, that this habit is not pure. A failure knows that, but he will tell you that I'm tired. He will tell you that I can't, I slept late. He will tell you that, we need 8 hours of sleep. So a failure will always find excuses. All right? So remember that failures ignore little disciplines. If you're going to be a successful person, you must define, write out the list of small habits, and be consistent in them. All right? Be consistent in them. The third thing I want to say, which would be the sixth in this series and the last one for today, is this: a lesson I learned from a failure. Failures have no sense of urgency. Failures have no sense of urgency. They believe that anything can be done at any time, right? They will drag something that should take them an hour. They can drag it into 6 hours, 7 hours. They have no sense of urgency. They have no respect for time. A failure doesn't understand that life cannot pour more into your hands when your hands are full. So if you are given something that should take an hour and you spend 10 hours doing it, all right, life will not release, or God will not release the other things into your life. All right, He won't give them to you, they won't come your way. All right, if your hands are not free to receive more because you are dragging on that which you received yesterday, then you have no room for the new. The failure believes that don't finish the work today. If we finish the work today, which work will we do tomorrow? All right, the failure will tell you, if I rush this work now, what will I do in 2 hours' time? Let me take it easy. All right. So failures have no sense of urgency. One of the traits of successful people this is something that was researched and discovered, that one of the traits of successful people is that they always move quickly. They move very quickly. They don't waste time. They get something, they want to get it out of the way. You give them something, they want to get it done. They want to just push it out of the way. They are always in a hurry to move on to the next thing. So they solve the one they have in their hands quickly so that they can move to the next thing. But a failure doesn't have that sense of urgency, just wants to drag things. All right. And because a failure drags things, a failure has no opportunity for new things and no opportunity for better things. Okay. Does this make sense to you? Does this make sense? So, if you want to be a successful person and if you want to avoid failure, you must develop the habit, all right, of moving as quickly as possible. You must develop a sense of urgency. If it needs to be done, do it now. Do it quickly. Get it out of the way. All right. If it's important, if it's something that must be accomplished, don't drag it. Because when you drag it, you shoot yourself on the foot. All right. You hurt your future when you drag things today. So what you need to do, one of my favorite quotes is what Jesus told Judas. He said, that which you need to do, do quickly. If you're going to do it quickly. Do you understand? Failures have zero sense of urgency. They believe that they can just move on at their own pace, and that is one of the things that keeps them in the place of failure. The Bible says concerning the slothful man that it grieves him to move his hand from his bosom. All right, it's a grievous thing to him for him to exercise himself, to do more. All right, to go the extra mile. It's a grievous thing for a slothful person, for a failure. All right, to get things done as quickly, as effectively, as efficiently as possible. All right. So if you want to avoid that, and if you want to move in the path of successful people, you have to develop a sense of urgency. Time waits for no man. It won't wait for you. It has never waited for anyone. It will not wait for you. You want to be great, you want to do great things, you want to have a great life, you must develop a sense of urgency. All right, I'm going to stop right here and we will pick this up in the part three of the series. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Thanks for joining me. By way of